All right, it's the top of the hour, so I think we can get started. All right, so hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome. This is the Telerik Progress Telerik R1 2021 release webinar, and we are super pumped to have you here. So let's begin. Let me see where my computer mouse is. There we go. So I'm Sam Basu, and with me I have my fellow partner in crime, Mr. Ed Charbonneau.
How you doing, Sam?
Yeah, I'm good. And so both Ed and me are developer advocates here at Progress Software. You have our two social handles down there, so you can get hold of us during or after the webinar. It's a new year. It's a lot going on, and we are super happy to bring you the first release of the year. As we always say, we stand on the shoulder of giants, our engineering teams, our product managers, and marketing and testing and everything that it needs to keep the cogs going in our how we ship software. So we are super happy to bring you this release. So let's dive in. So first thing, like I said, it's a new year, right? And 2020 was rough for almost every part of the world. So I think we are all hoping for a new beginning. And hopefully this year brings you peace, prosperity, and health above all. And if you're a developer like us, hopefully productivity, right? So we all want to be shipping stuff, and we need to have the right tools. And we think we can help you quite a bit. So if you are new to our stuff, welcome on board. If you are using our controls and our frameworks already, thank you for your patronage. Progress Telerik is our line for all things .NET for UI development. Ed and me are a little old, getting a little old, but we stick to the things that keep us productive, and that's .NET, and then hopefully that's true for many of you. So we'll talk about all things .NET, particularly today, and in kind of context of where .NET is. So many of you hopefully saw that .NET 5 reached general availability late last year. I think it was in November, and with that, it opens up a lot of opportunities. It's a unified .NET, and you want to be building your amazing apps on the most modern stack, on the most modern platform. You want UI to be able to support you, the tools to be able to support you. So this is a theme you're going to see all through. We are on the bleeding edge, making sure everything works with .NET 5. But if you're doing JavaScript, then you're likely doing Kendo UI, and as you know, it comes in a variety of different types of flavors of components for Angular, React, Vue, or jQuery. So build your web apps however you want, and then we have Kendo UI to help you out. Some things are a little intertwined here. Some of the things that Ed's going to talk about. Ed is our resident web expert, so you'll see a little bit of JavaScript maybe, but we are going to look at things from the .NET angle. So this is actually the first webinar of the week, but we have a busy week planned out because, again, we are trying to do justice to all the things we do and all the things our engineering teams do. So today is January 26th. It is. It is. So we'll try. So we have 2 hours, and we'll try. So welcome to today. This is all things .NET. We got 2 hours here. Ed and me are both on East Coast time, but wherever you are, hopefully you have a drink or some food and settle down. We got a lot to cover, so you'll see all things ASP.NET from Ed. And it's hard to even like breathe nowadays without hearing about Blazor. So of course we want to enable you. We were first, and we are going super strong and trying to give you everything that you need to build modern Blazor applications, but also MVC Core. And then at the top of the hour, we'll switch over to mobile and desktop because those are also important. So I'll talk about Xamarin, WPF, Winforms, WinUI, and we'll kind of end the day with some reporting and productivity tools. So that's today. But come and join us in 2 days. If you're doing JavaScript, then that's all things Angular. That's our good friends, Alyssa, Carl, and TJ. And they'll walk you through the different flavors of Kendo UI and what each of those product lines are doing. So it's going to be a busy 2 days, but that's not all. So we are big fans of Twitch because it lets us do live coding and we can interact with all of you. So that's coming up on January 29th, this Friday. It's going to be a super fun day. We are signing up for a full day of live coding, and that's going to be over in our Twitch channel, twitch.tv, Code It Live. And it's going to be amazing because we will actually have some of the folks who build the products with us. So you can ask away your questions, and we'll dive into some demos. We'll build some stuff and lots of interactivity. So Ed, I know you're looking forward to this.
Absolutely. I have a good time on Twitch. We've built one of the demos you'll actually see in the product lineup today is something that we built on Twitch. So we'll definitely be having some fun on Friday doing those live streams. I've got 2 of them. Got a Blazor stream and a testing stream with our coworker Andy. So we'll be talking about Telerik Test Studio as well.
Yeah. That's going to be a great day. We have like 2-hour chunks broken up. So we'll talk about Blazor, we'll talk about React, Xamarin, and then Angular, and then testing and reporting. And all day we'll just bring on amazing folks who build these products with us. So stay tuned and come and join us on Friday. So this is going to be kind of a preview of all the things. We'll, like you said, it's a lot of products. We'll try to do justice and walk through all the things we did. While you are here, this is your chance to ask away questions, right? We have a small army of folks who are supporting us for this webinar. So ask away. There's a Q&A panel. If you are on Twitter, ask away with a public breadcrumb using the hashtag #HeyTelerik, so we can answer your questions. And then everything that we're doing, it is being recorded, and we'll put it up on YouTube as soon as we can, okay? Now, all the things we talk about today are a part of R1 2021 release. This is a release that dropped Wednesday, I believe, of last week. And it's a lot to pack across all the different product suites with .NET and JavaScript. So if you want to get the details of a specific thing, go check out the blogs. Every product team takes the time to write up exactly what we did, so you are in the know. And all of the things we show you today, they're going to light up if you have the R1 2021 release. So please go ahead and upgrade if you want, and you can do it on a per project basis. And go ahead and do this however you get our bits from NuGet or NPM or straight up from Telerik or Progress. If you want to get the DLLs, or some of you use the control panel. For me, it's the easiest way to go to NuGet since I'm a .NET developer, just to get the upgraded bits. So get the bits is what the message is, okay? So I think that's about this release, and as is always true, we genuinely care about your developer experience. We are for developers by developers, so our docs and demos should stand for the things we do, and we do not want you to struggle. So please work with us, tell us any questions that you have, and anything you want to see in the products, the roadmaps, our PMs, they're always listening to you. So feedback.telerik.com. So tell us what you want to see next, and we'll go build it. All right. So with that, it's let's switch over to Ed and talk about all the cool things that the web stack can do. All right, Ed, you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So I will make you a presenter if you already are not.
I am not a presenter yet. I should be getting the notification any second now. There we go.
There you go.
All right. So hopefully you all can see my screen. I'm going to talk about all things web on our 2021 release webinar. When I mean all things web, I mean the .NET web. So as Sam mentioned, we have all of the Kendo UI products for the JavaScript ecosystem. So that entails things like Angular, Vue, React, and so on. If you're interested in those, check out our webinar on Thursday. If you go to telerik.com, there's a yellow banner at the top. Just click there and you can find your way to subscribe to that. So .NET Web is what we're going to be focused on today. We cover all of the .NET Web ecosystem, dating all the way back to UI for Ajax. We continue to put updates into that product and come out with new components and features in every release. We have updates with MVC and Core, so ASP.NET MVC or Model View Controller. We have plenty of new controls and updates there as well. And of course, UI for Blazor, one of my personal favorites, is gotten up to 65 components now. These are all natively written components for the Blazor framework. So we're up to about 65 components or more now. Hundreds of features on the Telerik data grid for UI for Blazor. So it's very mature product now, and we'll show some demos on how to integrate some of those things into a real working application in just a minute. Also, Test Studio has really gotten some facelifts in this release, and we'll do a short demo of that as well. And it's worth mentioning that ASP.NET Core and Blazor received a .NET 5 support update and when .NET 5 shipped, so you can comfortably use .NET 5 with those products.
Hey, Ed, so before
Yes.
we move on, why don't we take a quick pause? So I know you're going to go all into Blazor. It's the thing you love, and every .NET developer understandably is excited about Blazor. So just to get all of you folks a little interactive, I know a lot of you are interested and excited about Blazor as well. Why don't we do a quick poll right here to see where we stand with Blazor? Yeah. So folks, you have probably 30 seconds here. What are your plans with Blazor? And Ed would like you to believe it's all in, so we want to know from you.
Tell us the truth, though. Be honest. Let us know what you really think. These type of poll questions help drive our roadmap, so we really appreciate your feedback on these type of things. We definitely reach out to our customers when we build these roadmaps through not only these polls, but feedback.telerik.com, and pick up frequently asked for features and things and move those up in our roadmap. So appreciate all of our customer feedback over the last few years here.
And look at that, 42% want to use it for new projects. And yeah, 35, it's understandable. It's new tech, but again, a good chunk are looking to also upgrade and yeah, make use of the latest in Blazor. So that's awesome.
It is new, and we'll show you some demos today that might get you in the I probably want to use this category here today. So circle back to one of our long-standing, well-supported libraries that has been around for many, many years. People are building wonderful applications on the Web Forms platform still, and we continue to add components to it. So in this release, we have a brand new breadcrumb control. So that's a brand new component for the Ajax framework. And the grid continues to get updates as well. It's one of our most popular components, if not the most popular component. So we have a lot of Excel-related export functionality and manipulation tools in there. We've streamlined the demo page as well. You'll see new download buttons on the demo page to get the demos that you see on your screen onto your PC faster, so you can try those things out locally. And then on all of our products, Ajax included, we've updated our document processing libraries to support word processing. So in Word, there's content controls. So these are UI components that are built into the Microsoft Word document format. So if you see checkboxes and inputs and those type of things inside of Word, you can now manipulate those with the document processing library. So this allows you to set up things like templates, and we can show you a quick demo of that in just a few minutes. But I wanted to show first our new breadcrumb component. Well, I'm going to stumble over that one again. This is a really intuitive user interface for navigation. And when I say it's intuitive, I mean we use it ourselves. You'll see this breadcrumb on our demo pages for navigation as well. But in the Telerik Ajax library, you now have access to this nice breadcrumb component here as well. And as with most of our, or if not all of our components, we have full customization through templates and theming and all of those sort of things that you expect from a Telerik UI component. So it's a nice addition to the library, support for icons. It's just a really nice overall UI component. So happy to see that we're still improving upon such a tried and true product like Telerik UI for Ajax. It's been with us for, again, many, many years, and it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, so Ed, in the chat room, Dan Latvala is asking if we have supports for discontinuing Ajax. No, on the contrary, you can see, like, we are putting in more and more love because it's a choice, right? Developers have. It's a very productive ecosystem and a platform, and yes, it's probably getting a few years under the belt, but again, it works. And think about how many enterprises still have web forms applications. maybe the developers are looking to migrate them, but again, nothing wrong in how it's functioning. It's running on top of framework, and it's great. So we'll keep on pouring love into it.
Yeah, there's actually some pretty amazing apps that are built on top of UI for Ajax and web forms in general. But our demo page just kind of lays testament to how well these things they look. Your users are completely unaware of any of the technologies that are going on behind the scenes, and they just care if your web pages are responsive and they're modern and interactive. And you can build all of that stuff with Ajax. And if you have a team that has those web form skills, you can build gorgeous apps that are modern in every sense of the word. And yeah, it's really a great framework.
That's very true, because like web forms doesn't need to be web forms like we did 5 or 10 years back. It can be modern, it can be responsive, it can be Ajaxified. So do what is right for your apps.
Absolutely. So I'm going to combine the Telerik UI for MVC and Core kind of in the same group here. The major differences between MVC and Core are going to be that .NET 5 support is in .NET Core, and you also get tag helpers with .NET Core. But essentially, most of the updates that are on these two products, they correspond to each other, or they have a parity with each other. Things like the bottom navigation, expansion panel, radio button group, checkbox group, etc. You'll find those in both the MVC and Core products. But Telerik UI for Core also has .NET 5 support. There's a lot of components that also got updated in this release for both of the frameworks. We have a lot of grid updates. Again, as usual, the grid, one of our most popular items. Our editors received updates. Tile layout, I'm going to show a demo of this in a second. This is really cool. We have the ability to add and remove items from the tile layout by dragging and dropping and using some events. List view has grouping now, and again, word processing updated on all of our frameworks to allow you to manipulate those built-in components of Word. We've got updates on accessibility over many components for keyboard navigation. And we also have more integration with Visual Studio Code with those file new project templates. And Visual Studio Code is really amazing these days. So we're focusing on getting more tooling built into that platform as well. So our product doesn't stop at the actual web. We have things to make your developer life easier within your chosen IDE. And of course, we're always improving on our charts too, because those are another popular component that we have. So let's jump into a couple demos here up at demos.telerik.com. Whenever you visit demos.telerik.com, take a look for these green badges. These are going to show you where updates are happening. So this is really just handy to see what we've added recently, especially on the Blazor platform. We're really moving that one quickly. So you might see some of these new badges pop up in between releases as well. So always keep an eye out for those. One of the things I just mentioned is the tile layout. So let's take a look at the updated tile layout. And we have a really great demo of how to drag and drop. Let's see, why am I not able to find it on the page here? We are under, there's so many components, they're hard to find sometimes. Let's see. There we go. I was having trouble scanning for that one. So we've got a brand new demo here of how to add and remove components. And what's nice is we've got two independent tile lists here, but they can be dragged and dropped onto each other. So we can create these dashboard type of applications where our user can drag and drop widgets onto the design surface here and build out a user interface that they would like to see. And we can also remove those items. We can drag them on and off of the surface. So really great feature to be added to the tile layout. This is a really nice component. allows reordering and resizing and all of those type of things as well. So, you know, it's a very hands-on component or interactive component that your users can customize their experience with. So it's a nice addition there with the add and remove components. We have this nice bottom navigation component as well. If you're targeting a mobile style application, this is really handy. So you can see at the bottom of this, this small phone interface, we have a nice navigation that we can use to move throughout the app. It has templates like many of our controls do. So you can add things like these little bubbles to show notifications and things like that. So really highly customizable. When I say customizable, I mean it in every sense of the word. If you go to the Appearance tab in this demo, you can really see these things play out where we can choose the orientation of the text within each of those items. We can control all of the coloring of the icons as well. And then we can even choose between a flat or a solid style bar at the bottom. So this is really, really nice for those mobile application scenarios. So you can control the look and feel of it. You can control it through templates, all sorts of events to interact with these things. A really nice add to the Telerik UI for MVC and Core there. This is another personal favorite. I really like this. I think the first time I saw this type of a UI was in Android with material type of a theme that's on the Android platform. But what we have now is this nice floating button. So as I scroll through my grid here, if you've ever used Gmail or any of those sort of Google applications, you've probably seen something like this. So we can add a new record. And again, this is another one of those items that's really customizable. So there's settings that you can use to adjust the position where it's at in your user interface. It's templatable, so you can do things like create a share button and share things with coworkers. So we've got like a custom menu that comes up here. So lots of opportunities to customize this floating UI button. That's really handy for like a primary action that users need to interact with right away. Let's go back again. We got so many good things that came with this release. We've updated our form components as well. So you see our checkbox group. We have the ability to select multiple different colors, theming. As usual, lots of customization there. We've got a radio group. It's very similar to the checkboxes, but these are radio buttons. One of the things that is helpful here is we can set, enable, disable, all of those sorts of things. We can choose different layouts of those radio buttons as well. We can do vertical, horizontal, and it's all easily just toggling a property in there to do all of that. So the radio group is a nice add as well. Expansion panel is brand new. Do we have a question, Sam?
Yeah, just a quick one, because I just saw you showed off the tile thing. Emmanuel Berg was asking if, are there any functional or feature differences between this tile component versus the one in Blazor?
The add remove functionality, I don't believe we have in Blazor yet. We do have the ability to expand and move and drag and drop. I don't believe there's the drag and drop between two tile layouts yet. If anybody from engineering wants to correct me on that, if we've added that and I'm unaware, please let me know. But I believe that's where we stand with that right now. We have our new expansion panel. This is really handy for, it's like great for definition lists and all sorts of scenarios where you need to hide content because there's just too much information to show on the screen. So super handy component there, and really intuitive user interface for folks. So lots of great stuff. We just don't have time to go through every bit of all of the amazing features that are in This release, I'm trying to show you like the top, like most important ones that we've done, but there's so much for you to go out and explore on your own at demos.telerik.com with this. We've updated our form component, added brand new items to that as well. And then again, there's new keyboard navigation across many of our MVC components and Telerik UI for ASP.NET Core components, as accessibility is a huge opportunity for all of you out there to add functionality to your app and make sure that everybody's able to use it.
I think
so let's move on to. Sorry.
And it's a good problem to have, that we don't have time to show everything for every release, right? It just tells you how good our engineering teams are, and this is a particular testament to how we operate. And again, we are all living through a pandemic, and everyone's home, but collaborative software development it's difficult, and for our engineering teams to keep on churning things without missing a beat, I think it's amazing.
Absolutely, Sam. And you know, there's 4 or 5 products here that we're trying to get in an hour, and I know you have just as many, if not more, on your hour. So we've expanded our time for the webinar so that we don't have to just rush through everything, and we still don't have time to show you all of the wonderful things our engineering teams have built over the last couple of months. And I think that it just shows the value of the DevCraft product. Again, if you've seen me talk before, you've heard me mention that I was a customer for a long time, and things have only changed for the better since I've been here. So
before you dive into, Ed, sorry, one last comment before you dive into Blazor. Randall Carlson was talking about testing and how things work with BUnit. So yeah, Ed is the man, because he's worked quite a bit, and we have some blog posts. And Randall is also interested in like Test Studio and how that might work with like a government type project. So this is something we are focusing on quite a bit, and I know Ed is going to try to show off some of it. But yeah, please reach out to us even during or after the webinar, so we can tell you more.
Yeah, definitely. And BUnit's a very interesting one. There's some recent changes that may have broke some of the demos that you might have seen prior. So just reach out to us and let us know if you're having some trouble there, and we'll try to get you on the newest version of the API to make that happen. But we're always checking to make sure we have compatibility with that. Telerik UI for Blazor, so many new components here. We have a brand new splitter component. I'm going to do a really heavy demo on that in just a minute. Slider and range slider. This was something that customers had been asking for, and it's something that we wanted to make sure that we got right. So you'll definitely see that any bit of a wait that you've had has definitely paid off when I show you what those entail. We have a loading container that is excellent for fetching data, or how many times have you gone to a checkout process and you see that like red banner that says don't click the submit button twice because you might get double charged? You guys have tools at your disposal for these type of things. You don't need to put those kind of banner messages up, and our loading container can help with stuff like that. We have notification component, progress bar. I don't want to read through all these bullets. We'll go to the demo page here in a minute and see all of these awesome things. We've got updates as well. That whole page was just new components. This is all updates, and the grid has so many that it would just fill this entire page, but there's lots of amazing things in there. The multi-checkbox filter is one of my personal favorites. I'll show you a demo of that. We've got drag and drop in checkbox selection added to our tree view. Tab strip has gotten an update. This was a customer request from many folks as well. So we now have a header in our tab strip, header template in our tab strip, so you can fully customize the tab experience there. New bits for our scheduler, multi-select, has auto close and better theming capabilities, and our word processing support again for all of our stuff. So the CSS theming part that I mentioned there, all of our components got an additional CSS property that you can use to help customize all of those components much easier and target those. So we'll jump over to the browser one more time, and then we'll actually write some code here for a few minutes so I can show you how easily our Telerik UI components can work together and create a pretty amazing application with very little code. So first of all, let's check out our grid. We've got some updates in our grid. I said I would show this. This is a really amazing feature that is in all of our data grids, and now it's made its way to Blazor as well, and it's in our tree view. So what we can do is we can filter products. Let's show the regular filter first. This is what a regular grid filter looks like. If I zoom in a little bit here, you can see we've got kind of that ad hoc filtering where you can customize what you want to show in that filter. You can fuzzy search columns and those type of things. It's a really great interface for leaving that field wide open to search on. But the checkbox list is a more direct approach to filtering that I really like, because what it does is examines your data model that you have and the data that's in those columns. And instead of not only a fuzzy search box, but you get these nice checkboxes that you can come in, and this is, again, data that's been analyzed from the data set. We can hit filter, and it's just going to show those items that we checked. And this is extremely efficient from a user perspective. It's something that a lot of people are already used to because you have this type of functionality built into Microsoft Excel. So this is a very similar feature that you would see in application UI. We've added group loading on demand, so you can lazy load groups from your database, cut down on the data that's being loaded on the initial page render. So it's always nice to have those type of efficiency features, and group by default and load on demand are there. Our tree list, similar to the grid, we have that checkbox filtered list as well. And this even works with hierarchical data. So depending on your data set, it's a nice efficient way to filter on that data as well. So the tree list received that update too. The tree list and the data grid share a lot of functionality. So you'll see a lot of the updates for those come in tandem. We received some keyboard navigation as well on that tree list. So that accessibility theme plays out over all of our components. Tab strip, we got templates. Tree view received updates on checkbox selection. So checkboxes were added. Again, this is another feedback item from customers. So we're definitely listening to you all and adding the features that you're asking for. This is an excellent one here. It lets you select multiple. You can control this through properties on your component as well. You can tune this to single or multiple, and you can select a parent on multiple and it will cascade down the list. So it's very robust and intuitive.
Ed,
yeah.
Sorry to just ask you a quick question here, and this may be something of a roadmap question. I don't know if engineering or PMs have gotten to it, but Kareem Nashim was asking, do we have any plans to get a breadcrumb in a Blazor control?
I would imagine it is on a roadmap. I don't know how far up on the roadmap, so engineering might be able to answer that one in chat and give a little bit more specifics. If you ever want to look at what the future of Telerik UI for Blazor looks like, go check out the Telerik UI for Core and MVC. Those have been around longer and have, just by being around longer, have matured more. So you can see a lot of the components there, and we share the HTML and some of the CSS in those components. So you can kind of see where these things will play out. As far as when they get released and where they get placed on our roadmap depends a lot about what you all as customers ask from us. So make sure you go to feedback.telerik.com and let us know.
Depends on like maybe how many cups of coffee you're buying, Ed. And we got another question, Ed, which I think I know the answer to this, but the Blazor grid, the list view or the tree view, like, do they use virtualization, the UI virtualization?
You have the option to turn on virtualization for all of those components. It is built into our component library for all of those data-bound components like that. So yes,
And
but it's not on
feature
by default. It depends on if you want to enable it, but it's very easy to support once you do.
Yep.
So the slider in HTML is actually something that's native, but what I love about what we've done is we've taken it beyond like just skinning a native HTML component to make it look like the rest of the Kendo UI, or sorry, the Telerik UI stuff. Instead, we go the extra mile and we add all of these amazing features. And when I saw this release, I was just blown away by how much detail we put into a component that, when you hear sliders, sounds so simple on the surface, but I kept telling customers that we're asking for it. I was like, it's worth the wait. We have additional things that we're going to add. It's not just a regular just bare slider that you slide across the screen. So let's take a quick look here at what I mean by that. First of all, hover and you get a tooltip showing what the date range is. In this scenario, it's a date or a year. So you can have a range of numbers that you can slide across. You've got labels at the bottom that are clickable, so you can navigate the slider in that way as well. These are all things you're not going to find in a standard HTML slider. So that's just one simple example there. The labels are templatable, so you can do things like display dollar values in this example, customize this till your heart's content through the label template. The label templates are just Blazor, so it's just a template region inside of the component, and you can put any text, HTML or other components inside of that template and display those as a label template. And it uses the Blazor data binding model, so you get the context of the full object that is bound to that slider. Orientation, we can easily flip these vertical and horizontal just by setting a property. It's really that easy. You have full control over the hash marks in this as well. So the large and small gradients on the list or the slider are fully customizable as well. And this is the range slider. We actually have unidirectional slider as well. So very similar here. We have spinners at the end for easy accessible use. These are super handy if you're tapping those with your thumb on a mobile device and so on, or just want very granular control over that. Again, there's orientation, totally customizable through steps and so on. You can control the ticks and which side of the slider they show up on. Like I said, there are just so many features baked into something that you on the surface think is simple that we've knocked. I'm giving our engineers here some credit because they've knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. Validation as well. So this is a built-in validation that works with integrated Blazor validation. So you can have your sliders obey those validation rules as well. So really, really great stuff there. I'm really impressed. Glad to see that come into the component library. Good stuff. I'm going to go up to the top of the page here and talk about this Blazing Coffee app for just a moment. You may have seen this on the last webinar. This was something that we were building on the Twitch stream over the last few months, and we decided to move this to an official demo that you can grab off of demos.telerik.com. It's a kitchen sink type of a demo that shows a line of business application use. It has integrated theming. It will detect your system theme and change from light to dark. You can override that theme. So it's using some SaaS architecture that you can leverage if you just clone the repo and take a look and see how all of that is done. We've got our slider component here. There's our tile layout. So we talked about the tile layout earlier, so we can move some menu items around and so on. We've got charts and data grids bound together through some custom filters and so on. It's a really in-depth application with lots of different demos of our data grids and our charts, our window component. There's a lot of things being integrated here, so make sure you check that one out at demos.telerik.com.
Yeah, and I always like these apps, Ed, which are kind of like full featured. It's like a real world app. Even if you don't want to use that exact thing, but just kind of look through the code of a full featured app. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep, source code is all up there on GitHub. Just go to demos.telerik.com, click on the Blazing Coffee app, and there's a link right inside of it that'll take you to the source code. Let's build some stuff. Let's actually write some code here for a few minutes. I'm going to take the next few minutes to write code for a little prototype application, let's say. So this is like a wireframe. We've got a Blazor application underneath here. This is just serving up some HTML right now in a little bit of a wireframe. So I've got a file list on the left-hand side here. I've got a Telerik editor here in the middle. And a Markdown panel on the side. What we want to actually build here is an interactive Markdown editor, right? We want to take the middle panel here and have a what you see is what you get type of editor experience. On the left-hand or right-hand side, we'll build a Markdown output, so you can switch between Markdown and what you see is what you get, and write Markdown and have it rendered in real time on the center panel. And maybe we'll have a little file explorer up here. Let's see what we can do. So some of this stuff's pre-written, so you don't have to watch me type code. Nobody wants to see me type code, and if you do, you can watch me on Twitch do it. The first thing I'm gonna do is wipe out all of that HTML boilerplate that was in there. So we'll start from scratch here. And I've got some snippets on the side here. First thing I'm gonna do is drop in a splitter panel. So it'd be nice to be able to move those elements around the screen. So we'll drop in a splitter panel, and inside of the splitter panel, inside of the panes here, we're gonna nest another splitter panel. So we'll do a little splitter panel inception here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be able to have both horizontal and vertical panels. So let's take a look. Let's run this really fast and see what we added. So we'll get this running. And we've gone from that placeholder HTML to an interactive splitter, just that easy. This is all I've added is some splitter components to the screen, and we can expand these out and drop them back just by clicking on these areas here. We have one down. Oops, that's the Windows start bar. We have a HTML panel here as well, so we've got this nice split up screen where we can put our editors. Okay, let's go back. Let's add to the editor panel an HTML editor. So this is our Telerik editor, and we'll just bind it to some state, and we're just going to set the width and height. There's no code really behind this other than we're going to bind the output to a field. So we have access to the data that's being typed into that component. The next thing I'm going to do is put a text area in my Markdown panel. And this is going to reflect that same HTML state, but in a Markdown editor. So again, no other code in here. This is just going to bind to a couple values on the page. And then we'll go ahead and add that code to maintain that state. This is just two properties. It's a getter and setter here. We've got the HTML state and the Markdown state. And whenever we set the HTML, we're going to convert that to Markdown and set the Markdown state, and vice versa. So whenever this binds to the Markdown, we'll go ahead and update the HTML. And there's a couple NuGet packages behind the scenes here, just doing some conversion between Markdown and HTML. So this Telerik editor is going to give us an HTML output, and that will get bound to the Markdown panel as Markdown. And since they're using the bind directive in Blazor, and they're just bound to some properties, we don't have to write any other code to make this work. So I can come in here and say, hello world. I can highlight this, and you can see my markdowns working over here on the other side. We'll go ahead and make that a heading. So that worked just that easy. So we have a Markdown editor now. Let's update this a little bit more. I'm going to go into the header over here in my Markdown panel, and I'm going to add one of those brand new slider components. And we'll do the same thing that we did with the Markdown data, and we'll go ahead and add some values to data bind to. So we'll go ahead and add that. So I'm going to add a zoom level here, and it's just going to be a simple integer that we'll tack an EM value onto, and we'll bind that to our text area, or our header slider here. And our text area has a class that attaches to. So we need to add that CSS class to the view as well. And when we slide the slider, it's going to bind to the font size inside of that box. So now inside of that Markdown panel, if we wanted to type some text in there, and if I have some old eyes and I want to zoom in a little bit, I can just use my slider to zoom in on that. So there's our new slider component and how easy it is to integrate that. Just a couple values being data bound to an integer. Let's play with this a little bit more. Let's go ahead and output this HTML state as well. So we'll have an HTML panel that we can bring out. And last thing I want to do is let's go ahead and add a file browser to this. So I'm going to go over here again. This time I want a Telerik tree list. And the tree list, all I'm doing here is defining some columns for the tree list. So I'm going to show the path of the file, the size, the URL, and then I have a custom template here that lets me click an edit button, and that edit button is going to fetch some markdown data and put it into the application through that same data binding mechanism. So we need to write a little bit of code. Go ahead and uncomment this. It's just going to give us a new file dialog here. And we'll go ahead and initialize this page. And we're going to go out and get my GitHub project at the root node and display all of the nodes for that that GitHub page that I have. And then we'll add some code here. And we basically have a list of tree nodes that we're going to get from GitHub. And then when we expand those nodes, we'll go ahead and traverse those and add them to the data set. And when we click on edit, we'll go ahead and bind the data from GitHub to our Markdown editor. So just a couple API calls here. It's nothing really that complex, and it's using all data binding. So now we have our tree list component. We could dig through our our project pages up on GitHub. So this is actually pulling live data from a GitHub repository through the GitHub API. And then we'll tell the GitHub API to go grab this README Markdown file and bind it to the Telerik editor and the Markdown editor. And we can even see a live view of the HTML that's in those panels that are being bound. This is all just data being shared between these three components, the Telerik editor, the Telerik text area, and just some standard just output it to the screen data binding. So this is really very simple code here. These are just a couple HTTP calls to GitHub to get the data, and the rest of it's all done through data binding. So we're data binding a list of tree nodes, some HTML state, and some zoom items, and we've got a Markdown editor application right there in the browser. So we've got these panels. This is our new splitter panel that we can, organize these screens however we want. We can hide our file explorer, and then we can go to work on writing our page, our content. So I thought that was a pretty cool demo that I could do of how our splitter component, brand new splitter component, can be integrated with some of our other UI components that are in the Telerik UI for Blazor suite.
This is very cool, and I know you like your Markdown ed.
I do.
So
I work in Markdown quite a bit.
I do too. One quick question. Kareem again was asking, like, our Blazor controls, they're mostly native with very little JavaScript, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, Kareem, of us building it from scratch.
With our Blazor components, we start native. So when I mean start native, we start building with it in mind that we're not going to use JavaScript unless absolutely necessary. Now, Blazor doesn't have APIs for everything. There are some times that we need to go out and leverage JavaScript APIs directly. And we build until we get to that point. And some of the things like the editor and the splitter panels, they're going to have a little bit of JavaScript under the hood that you don't actually access yourself. It's all been abstracted away. And Blazor does this internally as well. So when you're calling Blazor APIs, there's JavaScript that's hidden from you in that as well. But what's nice is from a developer perspective, I don't have to write those JavaScript bits. And they're, again, the position that we've taken is we're going to put the least amount of JavaScript in that we need. So you'll find all of our templates and everything like that, just simple to use. They follow all the Blazor conventions, and everything integrates very, very well because we've taken that perspective on things. So let's move on to Test Studio. We're going to talk about Test Studio a little bit, and we're going to kind of stay in the context of Blazor a little bit too, because there's some nice integration points with Test Studio and Blazor. Now, Test Studio works across any type of web interface, across multiple browsers. I could test against websites built in any technology, but what's nice is we have some integration points with our components as well. So the Test Studio Recorder UI has gotten a big improvement. If you've used it in the past, it used to come up in your browser, kind of like your developer tools did, and it would split your browser and share real estate on the screen. So we've made this a lot easier to use through like a little floating navigation that we'll show here. It's gotten some performance improvements over the last release as well, especially with complex things like OCR and those image verifications. We have brand new Blazor translators, and this is what I'm talking about with respect to integration points. And we'll dive into this just a little bit more in a moment to what exactly translators are and what we have available. And then, of course, everybody that is a developer has been split on the whole dark theme, light theme issue at some point in their life. So we're addressing that with a dark UI mode. So we're going to pick up your Visual Studio theme when you're integrating with Visual Studio with Test Studio, and make sure that you don't have like a white test panel inside of your dark screen like so. So we actually make sure that we're theming right along with the Visual Studio theme. So it's nice to see that the dark theme gets adopted there when it's appropriate. The test recorder, I was talking a little bit about how the test recorder improved. So we've got a demo here of the test recorder in process, so you can kind of see it lit in a live scenario in just a moment. But the main thing is it's this nice floating interface now. So it's detached from the browser. It's not sharing that screen real estate anymore. It's nice and minimal, and you can drag this around the screen as you build your tests. So this is a big improvement over the panel that used to be shown in tandem with the browser. As far as the translators, this integration point, these are built-in features that we can detect our components on screen. So when you're using this floating panel and you hover over an item, like these items shown here on the right-hand side, we can detect, say, a Telerik UI grid within the browser, and we can highlight additional verification steps, identify properties that you've set within those components, so you can easily validate if a value has been set or a date has been picked, or if visibility is on screen, those sort of things. And we've added more components to this, and even things like our animation container, multi-select, all of those have these built-in translators that light up in that UI. You can see in here what those look like. So when we're highlighting over something like a date field, we get an interactive experience to validate that these items are on screen, have a certain value, have a certain CSS property. You can navigate down to individual attributes on HTML and make sure that your ARIA attributes are set correctly and those type of things. So you can do all sorts of very detailed verifications and even use image recognition and OCR to do some of those validations. And then you can apply that across multiple browsers, Firefox, Firefox, IE, Edge, all of those things. You can do some cross-browser comparisons on, make sure that everything's rendering on those browsers well. So lots of updates here in that product. That is a lot of things to cover in an hour, but we did it, Sam, and it's going to be your turn in just a moment.
You did it. You did it. Yeah, this is pretty awesome, and you're almost convincing me to go do my stuff with web. But I mean, this is very enticing, and come and hang out with us on Twitch, because these are the kind of edge cases that we often kind of dive into. Like, you can actually use things like Blazor, and I mean, of course, you can build a PWA, which is the last example that Ed was showing you. It's a very good citizen on a mobile form factor, but you can also build like native apps for like desktop and mobile as well. So yeah, the world is your oyster, and if web is the tech stack that you pick for all things ASP.NET, you're in good hands.
Yeah, you mentioned PWAs there, Sam. If you open our Blazor apps on demos.telerik.com, our stock portfolio is a PWA, and so is the Blazing Coffee app. So if you're running that application, you'll see a little plus symbol up here in the browser. If I install that, you'll see the outside edge of the browser gets melted away, and now I have what looks like a desktop application that even has its own title bar, tooltip, whatever they call that little pop-up window. Shows kind of a preview of the application running. They've even added on-install capabilities into the Windows OS, so these will show up in your application list when you're installing and uninstalling applications. So this is going to look and feel a lot like a desktop application, even though it's a web app. And this works on Android as well. You can install these as an icon on your Android desktops.
Yeah, no, I hear you. This is compelling, especially with Blazor, like the latest and the most modern stack. You don't have to be stuck to the web. You can absolutely power things on other platforms. All right, folks. So I think there were a fair number of questions in the chat room. Some of them had to do with like features. So I'm hoping like our engineering, our PMs got back to you. Some of the questions when it comes to like, can you export out of a grid? And then the answer to almost all of that is yes. But yeah, I mean, we don't have everything, but we are working really hard. As you can see with Blazor, like we were first to come up with the full featured suite, and you can see how much we're pushing to get you all of the controls that you need.
Yeah, those exporting capabilities are coming. We do have what is it called? The document processing libraries. So if you have the data, you don't necessarily have to export it from what is on the screen. You can use the document processing libraries independent of the actual grid or any of the other components and just export the data that you have through those document processing libraries. But we will be adding convenience buttons and things to export from the data grid and other components at some point. Like actually we do have CSV and Excel export built right in.
Yeah, that's what we did, yeah.
So you can just click export to Excel right from the Blazor data grid, and there it is right on your desktop and in Excel format. And again, you have full ability to customize this stuff with the document processing library as well. these are here for convenience. You can do CSV exports and even show how to do, export all of the data rather than just the data that's on screen. So those two are already in there. We'll be adding more in the near term. And then I wanted to show, let's see if I can find this real fast, Sam. I know we're almost at the edge of my time here. We were talking about those form fields and stuff that are in Word. So what's really neat here, this is using a PDF, but you can do this in Word as well. You can take and write to these documents. This is going to take the information that's here on our form and generate a very similar form within the PDF using its components that correspond to our components. So you can take that information and translate that to a Word doc or a PDF and use the built-in UI components inside of those platforms as well. So our document processing library is really expanding to include more of the features that are built into those document platforms. So this is really interesting stuff. So you can have a web interface where you build an interactive form and then take that interactive form and export it and set the field choices and checkboxes and all of those things using our document processing APIs.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought it up because essentially what Ed is talking about here is we have a thing called document processing. It's headless. You don't see all the things that it does with your UI, but it's powering a lot of things that we do because it's a .NET standard library, and you're going to see impact of this on all of the desktop and mobile stuff as well, because like what we do there shows up in every one of our products. And yeah, it's not just forms, there are other things we can do as well. So very enticing. And Todd Martin in the chat room, you're asking what's the Twitch URL? Our handle is CodeItLive. So yeah, come and hang out. We are live at least 5 to 6 times a week, so you can see us playing with the latest tech. All right, Ed.
I've had my 15 minutes of fame, Sam. It is all you, buddy.
All right, no, thank you. That was amazing. It was a lot of stuff in an hour. So let's see if we can switch over. All right.
Are you grabbing it, or would you like me to? There you go.
I think
you've got it. You're the man.
Yeah. Yeah,
thanks for helping me with the Q&A stuff there, Sam.
No, absolutely.
I'm and for you now.
Thank you. And then folks, Ed's going to hang around here, so don't go anywhere, and we will come together with a quick reporting demo. Let's talk about the other things. Let's talk about not just the fluffy web, just the reality of driving enterprise businesses, right? So that's where I come in. Let's talk about mobile and desktop and reporting and productivity. So we got an hour, and we got a couple more poll questions where you can chime in. So let's dive in. So yeah, like I said, you can absolutely build PWAs, but look down in your phone and just see how many of your applications are actually native or things you have installed from the App Store. So the desire to be on the App Stores and to build native apps, that's never going to go away. In fact, it's increasing. So how do you go about doing it if you're a .NET developer? You have a few choices on the sides, on the fringes, but predominantly the ship has sailed. Like Xamarin makes it super easy for .NET developers to make native and cross-platform mobile apps. We are big fans of this, and you may have seen me talk about this over and over again. But again, if you're just coming new, like there are 2 ways in which you can build Xamarin apps. Your goal is to, as a .NET developer, share as much code as you can. So there is a shared C# logic you can build, and then you build the heads for each of the platforms separately. This is where it's called like Xamarin iOS or Xamarin Android. Moving forward, it might just be .NET for iOS or Android. And then this is the one that I'm more of a fan of, Xamarin Forms, which is a shared UI stack as well, which is difficult. Like it's an abstraction. As a .NET developer, I don't want to learn a whole lot about iOS or Android or other platforms. This gets me around maybe 95% of the way. And then if you need to, you can always drop down into native land. So no matter what you're doing, we are fans of Xamarin, and you'll see that our engineering teams put in a lot of love and care to make sure our Xamarin tools can shine and do the stuff that you need for your Xamarin applications. So what is Telerik UI for Xamarin? Again, just a quick pitch. If you have not ever used it, you really should. And you don't need to install anything. A lot of things that I'm going to show you, they are just out in the app store. So you can try out our UI before you ever install anything on Visual Studio. So what it is just a big UI suite full of love for you, wrappers for everything that you want to do for Xamarin Forms, or as well as native controls. Work seamlessly, be it on Visual Studio for Windows or Mac, and it's very easy to kind of get started. It's integrated. You have a toolbox. You can bring things in with the NuGet package. We give you some nice Visual Studio templates. So again, just a lot of love. We would like to think we give you some of the best UI possible, and we stand by what we produce. So again, this is close to my heart. Xamarin is beautiful. So let's take a look at what we did, and Ed kind of touched upon this, the whole dark mode thing, right? And we have debated this a lot. I started out as a bit of a non-believer, but I have come full circle, especially when it comes to mobile devices. Dark mode absolutely rules, because, and again, if you're not supporting dark mode, you're actually losing out on some UX and accessibility. So it's a darker color palette that iOS and Android will both support. iOS, I think, does it from 13 onwards, iOS 13, and Android was API level 29. So it's low power usage, and it's great in low light, and it actually does help if you have like vision impairment. So can you support dark mode if you are using Telerik UI for Xamarin? And this is not just a black and white question. It looks almost simple with the way we are going to present it, but this takes a lot of engineering, because think about just how many controls we have across native, across Kia, across renderers, and we have themes. So we are having to go pixel perfect and do things right. And the good news is we have, right? It's taken us a while, but now we have full dark mode support all across the Telerik suite. And again, the good news is developers don't need to do a thing. It's built in, ready out of the box. You can just flip a switch, and we can identify what the OS is doing and act accordingly. So big news here. Dark mode support is here for all of your native apps. The rich text editor. This was a control, we had it in beta last release in R3 of 2020, and we added a whole bunch of things to make it full on ready. And now it's officially ready for your production usage. It is the classic WYSIWYG text editor, but you just expect that to be working on your mobile form factor. It's got all of the features that you expect: text editing, fonts, hyperlinks, indentations, bullets, numbered lists. It's got everything, but we have added a whole bunch of things as well. If you are loading up like HTML that is not valid, it will give you error handling and APIs to handle things. You can do copy paste and be careful as to how you're pasting things and what you carry forward or back. You can customize the context menu that shows up and what you want to put in it. You can select all the text. That's a new feature. So just a full-featured rich text editor. So think about whenever your apps are presenting something to the user, where it's like a blog comment or an email or whatever it is that is rich text. This is your way to let them go ahead and have all the edit capabilities that they want to have in the world. Okay. So that's a rich text editor, and I will show you some of these things in action in just a minute. More kind of features all through. We have a tab view, which is very popular. Again, it's what comes out of Xamarin out of the box. Again, we just take it and it's on steroids. It does a whole bunch of things that you cannot do. We have added swipe gestures to it. Now the sliding, the headers kind of slide left and right as you move around. You can disable tabs programmatically. The data grid, again, one of those full-featured apps. You don't realize how much you need a data grid on a mobile device until you actually see the apps that are enterprise apps where you do need a data grid and all the things that it does. And it comes with its own level of challenges, because you are talking about a smaller form factor. So we are very careful as to how we show some of the filtering UI, and now you can hide and show stuff as need be. And it's got all of the features like sorting, filtering, grouping, all of that is built in. Like Ed was talking about, we do have the benefits that come from a document processing library, and it shows up across all of our product lines. So Xamarin has a PDF viewer, which lets you load up your PDF documents and be able to search through it, be able to edit that. It's beautiful, but now it can actually do a little bit more. One of the things, and this one, I will be honest, I did not know what it was until our engineering teams did it. So there is this thing called Type 3 fonts, okay? It's a slightly older tech, but it's heavily used. It's an Adobe tech, it's PostScript, And what it does is it embeds the font information, which is in glyphs, right in the PDF document itself. And it's not going to use anything that's built in the OS. So you're kind of stuck if you cannot support that in your PDF documents. So now we can display those fonts. We can even import and export docs which have those fonts. And again, this is a feature in our PDF viewer that is benefiting all of the product lines. So type 3 fonts are very welcome. Like Ed was talking about, word processing brings in those content controls. And again, I'll show you and talk about this more in terms of like Wpfm and Winforms. But all of those like editable font fields, those are welcome, and they can export and import. Images can float, and how the text kind of wraps around it, we can do all of that. So word processing gets a big helping of love this release. And performance tuning, that's something we do every release, and it's there to kind of help your performance of all of your Xamarin apps. Now, for Xamarin, we have spent a lot of time in the last couple of releases to give you full-featured, production-ready, real-world apps that you can take a look at. And there are 4 of them, 5 or 6 if you count some of the other ones that we have in the stores. There's an ERP, there's a CRM, there's a to-do list, there's one that calls into Azure, does some image processing. So these are full-featured Xamarin applications written with Telerik UI for Xamarin, uses some Azure, uses some other MVVM frameworks, one or the other, just to kind of give you a feel of how is it to build these full-featured Xamarin applications, just to get you the code. So it's all out on GitHub, so you can play around with it. Now, let's talk about .NET MAUI here. And this is something we get asked a lot, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can here. .NET MAUI is the evolution of Xamarin Forms. Okay, Xamarin Forms right now is in a mode where they're trying to get Xamarin iOS or Android as a part of .NET, just to kind of give you more confidence. And for Xamarin Forms, we have support for some of the platform features and your platform reach out of the box. So that means iOS, Android, Tizen, those are given, but Windows going to desktop with Windows or Mac OS have that built in and be feature rich and open up the funnel so we can build Xamarin apps in multiple ways. So where are we? We are kind of nowhere because a lot of things are being planned and worked on right now. So from a Microsoft standpoint, all I can say is wait until May or maybe somewhere between now and May, where they will come up with a fresh set of upgrades for .NET MAUI. Everything that's been promised is being worked on. It's just the timelines. We don't know exactly when things will be out from a Microsoft standpoint. So we are obviously SimShip partners. We are working very closely with Microsoft. We know exactly what's coming out of the pipeline. So the question that we get asked is, will there be a Telerik UI support? And the answer is absolutely. We will support .NET MAUI. It's just we don't know exactly when things come out. And whenever things come in preview mode, we will be right there to support you. And speaking of MAUI, again, with MAUI, the goal is to open up the funnel, right? So it's not just the C# and XAML folks like me. Why can't Ed come and build a native mobile app with Blazor? So the Blazor mobile bindings enables that to build hybrid or native mobile apps. There's also a C# with MVU that you can do. So we are looking into all of this. And if you are willing to play around with Blazor, if you're excited, then you should look at Blazor mobile bindings. It's actually a beautiful tech. It is literally running on top of Xamarin Forms, but you don't need to write Xamarin Forms. You don't need to write XAML. You just write Razor syntax for Blazor. And we have probably about a dozen or so of our controls. And if you take a look at some of the examples here, like the data grid, the list view, like these are heavy hitting controls. If we can provide those things with a Blazor markup, then we can really do anything Xamarin from a Blazor wrapper and a binding standpoint. So we have all of these things out there. If time permits, I'll show you a quick demo of where this can kind of fit in, and you get to share some code with your web and your mobile apps, and it's all Blazor that you write. So let's go. All right,
Sam,
Ed,
move along through these. There was a question that it wasn't specific to a certain product, but I think we can answer it anyway. They were asking about multi-language support, which I believe is globalization, localization. So if you can mention any of that in the context of say Xamarin or any of the other components. I believe it's pretty much the same story across everything that we produce.
Yeah.
We get the resource files that
Exactly.
help you with that. So you're not locked into like one language with your application.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same, and like you said, like especially for mobile and Xamarin, it's the same style of technique that we use to get around it. It's just putting in resource files or putting in other things where we can pull down the languages, and anywhere you're putting text in our controls, like we'll make sure it's open so you can swap things in and out. So yeah. All right, let's look at some stuff here, shall we? Let me pull up Visual Studio here, and unlike Ed, I like living on a Mac because I love to live a little dangerously, but it's fine. For Xamarin, again, it doesn't really matter whether you're on a Mac or a Windows. So what am I showing you here? So first up, if you head out to Telerik.com, if you go to, I don't want to install Visual Studio right now, thank you, sir. If you head out to mobile components here, and if you head out to Xamarin, okay, maybe you already use Xamarin, then you already have the NuGet packages, you know how to use their stuff, or maybe if you're brand new, just hit that big button. What it does is, I can show you real quick, it puts in your documents folder. It could be a little different on Windows because I think it goes into your C and program files. But here it's just progress, and then you get these product installations. So it's just a package that will unpack, so you don't have to go and pull down the DLLs separately. So that's Xamarin right there. Inside of it are all of the binaries and all of the examples. This example here, QSF, that's the one actually that we put in the stores. So you don't need to trust me for any of this. The app that I'm showing you, you can actually go ahead and download and play with it on your phones or on your tablets, be it on iOS or Android or Windows. Go to the App Store, search for Telerik, and this is the app that you're going to find. And it's nice that we give you the source code so you can look around and see how we have done it, okay? So this is the source code for it. What I have done here is, now GoToWebinar doesn't do a very good job with zooming, so I'm going to try to bump up my fonts as best as I can. So what I've done here is I've just kept iOS, but it has Android, it has UWP, it's the same app. So let me go ahead and run this thing just for iOS. And what it's going to do is it's going to do a build, and since I am on a Mac, it knows that there is Xcode, it knows how to do the build and come back, and it pulls up my iOS simulator, right? And this one's iPhone 11 Pro, which is actually just my phone. So let's give it a second, and it's going to throw up the app in our simulator. All right, here we go. It tells me a couple of warnings, and here's the app, okay? So this is the app that you can actually use once you get the app from the store. It has all of the UI that we build. It's all right here. And actually, this release, we redid the whole app to make it nice and friendly, newer graphics, and just a cleaner design overall. There's a little hamburger menu that has access to all of the product pages and documentation, but this is it. So first thing out of the box is this little button here. Now these sample apps, this takes you to the other 4 apps that I was talking about, right? So if I go in here in dark mode, you see that everything changes, right? And it's not just the text, it's not just the little things, everything changes. So let me go back to light mode one more time. Let's pull up something like maybe a chart, okay? Like a bar chart, right? And then, well, I should have probably switched that first, dark mode. And now you go to the chart and you'll see that everything is different, right? So we are very conscious of the pixels that we paint. This is not a small amount of work, but it is the right thing to do because again, if you do not support dark mode, you are losing out on accessibility, and that is not good, right? So the team spent a lot of time this release trying to make sure everything was pixel perfect, and we're supporting the themes out of the box. So when you go to dark mode, literally everything about our UI controls will just flip. And this shows up everywhere. If you do a simple basic autocomplete view, like the way these things show up, like everything is going to notice that you're in dark mode and act accordingly. So dark mode, done deal, built right out of the box, okay? Now, let's look at the RichTextEditor here real quick. And again, this is the control that was in beta, but now it's fully out and ready for you to use in production. If I look at the first look here, let me actually switch back to light mode. That might be easier for this webinar. So let me go back in here, and now you see that this is rich text, right? It's got tables, it's got images, and this is your menu bar for doing stuff. And it comes with the default set of menu bars, but you can also customize that context menu and do other things. So everything that you expect is right out of the box with numbering and unordered lists, and you can do more subscript and superscript and other things like that. And then when you look at some of the other features like import and export, we can open things based on wherever the user is coming from. We can open up HTML, or we can open up any other rich text, and we can let you edit. It does have undo and redo features, which I love, because I mean, this is all with thumb, right? So people will make mistakes, and having that undo and redo is nice. You can save things on disk on iOS or Android, or you can, if you do a share, then you get the share menu, which exports it out. So import, export is all done. And if you look into some of the other options, like this one here, if I, let me see if I can underline this. Hang on, I'm trying to highlight this, right? So, and then you see some of the other options of, I'm not able to, oh, actually, I need it to be in edit mode. Okay. So now when I go in here, you see the other options of how you can customize what exactly shows up in the context menu. You can actually select all the text that belongs to the paragraph. So these are some of the new things we have done. And again, if there are errors in what we're loading up, we'll let you know as a developer right away. So it is a full-featured rich text box that's now ready for full use the way you have it. Now there are edits and there are updates to a lot of different UI controls here, which I'm going to run out of time showing you all of that, but you know how to get the app, you know how to get the source code, so go ahead and look through this yourself. It is a product of love from the Xamarin and the XAML teams, so take a look. And if I can just show you one piece of code, just to kind of show you how easy this is, if I go look into let's see, the home view, which is where that button is. So this is our home view. You see some XAML. Let me pull up, maybe make the text a little bigger so you can read on screen. So this is a complex page. It's got content, it's got a grid, and so on. But somewhere down here, you're going to see that button that switches the color, right? So let me bring it down here. Sidebar open, all controls, slide view, transparency. Hang on, I'm going to try to find that button for you that does the switch of color. App theme, I probably just went right over it. So that's the side drawer, app bar, assets. Hang on. So I'm going to find the theme color label. Oh, right there. Okay. So that's a label for the theme color. Let's keep going to see what's next. That's the style. Okay, maybe I'm drawing, I'm not finding that exact button, but let me show you what the button does when you click on this behind the scenes. That's the view model, right? That's the thing that we all care about. How are we enabling that button? So that's the text that shows up on the light mode and the dark mode for the button, so you can toggle. And how are we exactly reading this? So for iOS, if it's greater than 13, we know that you can, your consumer's device can support it. Same for UWP or Android, we can do a quick check. And then when you toggle that, essentially it is, it's probably too big, the text. So requested theme changed. So we are just going to switch the theme. So it fires a command, and then it does a switch of the theme, right here, requested theme. It goes from, toggles it between dark and light, right? And that's all. And then as soon as the application current theme changes, and then all of your Telerik UI will listen and respect that theme that you have. Okay, so dark mode it's done and it's ready for you to use. If I can show you one more thing here before we move off from Xamarin, let's see. This one here. Now this is not out yet. This is a couple of our engineers working on this, but I'm just going to show you a preview of what life can look like if I go ahead and run this real quick. And it's going to fire up the same simulator. We do have an app that's called the Sdk Browser. So anytime you are anytime you're building an app and you want to know how do I use this particular thing with Telerik UI for Xamarin, you can look up this app, and it has a lot more like developer-focused examples. So this app looks like just the app that's already out there in GitHub, but this one here, everything about it, like the data grid is here. You have your busy indicators. All of this is actually rendered through Blazor, right? So we have full-fledged support for most of the controls, about a dozen or more controls that you can now render entirely with Blazor. And it renders as a native UI for iOS and Android because it is sitting on top of Xamarin Forms. So again, just so you know, we are very aware of what's coming down the pipe with Maui, and we will update you as Microsoft announces more things. Okay, so be assured that you're in good hands. Keep on building your Xamarin Forms applications today. They're going to migrate just fine if you want to jump onto Maui, or if you want to build Maui applications with Blazor or MVU, we want to support that as well. Okay, so lots of excitement in the mobile space. Why don't we stop here for real quick? Actually, we did mobile, but let's go over to desktop now. And this may actually be a good time for a quick pause. And I think we might have a poll question for you. So if our folks in the background, if you can throw up the poll question, please. Maybe going one. There you go. Okay, so this is the desktop thing, but we'll ask you about the Maui thing as well. And we're actually about to get into desktop, but I will also like to ask like where you folks see, like in terms of Maui, what type of techniques you want to build with. But let's talk about desktop. Since this is up, we are about to go into desktop. And this is again the reality for so many enterprise apps. You have choices. You have a lot of choices now. So what do you build your desktop apps with? Are you willing to jump onto WinUI? It's the latest and greatest thing. Are you still doing Wpfm Winforms, which are very mature platforms, or what else? So 10 seconds for you to respond to this real quick. And going once, going twice, and that's it. Let's see the responses real quick. And oh wow, okay. Sure. If you're not doing desktop, that's great. But for the folks who are, it's good to see that WinForms and WPF are kind of split, and that's kind of what we'll look into. And then WinUI is kind of up and coming. So yeah, lots of excitement with desktop as well. All right, let's take a look at what the desktop holds for us. Okay. So first up, when we talk about desktop, we are talking about different technology stacks here. WinForms and WPF, they're the most matured ones. And for those two, we run completely on everything that's .NET Framework, as well as everything that's bleeding edge. So .NET Core 3.1, which is LTS, and then .NET 5. Looking ahead, like .NET 6 will be November of this year in 2021, and we will have support for that. If you're waiting for LTS, that's up to you. But again, you can run Windows applications on the latest .NET Framework, and you can bundle in the .NET runtime with your application. It's a good place to be. Desktop development does not need to be old school. You can absolutely run on the latest .NET stacks. So what's going on with Wpfm Winforms? First up, if you are happy with your Wpfm Winforms applications on .NET Framework, you should keep on running it there, because again, nothing is bothering you. Your apps are just going to be fine. But if you want to kind of migrate them forward or utilize some of the newer APIs, or maybe want to have an easier time in how you roll out your .NET frameworks, you want to kind of self-package your applications, then you're looking at .NET Core or .NET 5. And we actually ship binaries that are separate, so you get to choose which .NET runtime you will want to pick for your applications. And if you are in the business of wanting to convert or kind of upgrade your app, then I've mentioned this before, but it's very popular. We have a project conversion tool that actually uses some of the Microsoft tools under the covers, CLI tools, but it's available to you as a VS extension. It's a try convert. It's going to tell you all of the APIs that you probably cannot move forward if they're very Windows centric, and then you get to move from .NET Framework to Core. We will make a copy of your project and replicate that, and now you have a fully functional .NET Core or .NET 5 project. So that's pretty cool if you want to move forward into the future. So WPF, again, this is where our team spend a lot of time, and we still actually support Silverlight. It's the same team. It's the XAML team that is very, very good at what they do. So you can see our years and years of engineering kind of show up in some of the controls that we're making. So we have a card view. This is new. We still have not taken the beta tab off yet, but it is fully functional. So it's a powerful new UI component that inherits all of the things that we know while rendering lists of things, right? It does virtualization, it does sorting, selection, grouping, filtering, everything that you can think about, but it's visualizing your data in a card-like format, right? So if you have data which can be visualized nicely, it's just nicer to put it in this list versus just a regular grid or a list view, and it can collapse and expand really nicely, especially when it comes to like grouping. This really kind of shines. You can actually edit the stuff that you're binding it to, so makes it easier for your users. And to Ed's point, you can localize, you can globalize. What else? Oh, we have a new queryable collection view. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's a queryable collection that you can bind to whatever data source that you want, but then it's a XAML object, right? And then you can keep it in memory. It really helps with the sorting and the grouping and other things like that, because it's a XAML object at that point, and it's just easier to bind and do reads and writes against your data source. Okay, so that's card view. I will try to show you some of these demos really quick. We have a tile list. Again, this is not new, but we have added a couple of features to it that makes it really nice. This is kind of the Windows 10, Windows 8 style mosaic tiles. We have actually added horizontal support, so you can now scroll and you can kind of have it flow horizontally or vertically. And again, it really helps with sorting or grouping if you're into that. And you can actually do drag and drop, which is very cool. But everything about the tile list that you know just works. And again, I mean, Ed was talking about tile list in terms of desktop. It's funny where you see the same things kind of show up in multiple platforms. But again, that's kind of what we do. We have
a Radial. That looks like a Windows Phone app, Sam.
Hey, I'm old. Nothing was wrong with Windows Phone. Just never caught on. Yeah, but I mean the UX that Windows Phone or Windows 8 presented was nice, so you can see some of those things still show up on desktop. Now this one I am a super big fan of because it is just so nice. We have a radial menu, okay, and think of it as a context menu that you can throw up on top of anything, and it just gives your users so much of an option. It is a circular context menu, fully customizable, comes with some templates, and the UX is just beautiful. It helps your users kind of drill down to whatever they're looking for. We have added an auto resize thing, so by default, I think it supports up to 8. That's kind of the thing that it starts with, but then if you have less, then we adjust. If you have more, then we adjust as well. So this makes it super easy. So radial menu is in. Now this is again where our engineers just give you more love and more real world code for you to look at. We have 2 really big applications. One is a CRM application and one is a color theme generator. Again, we ship our Wpfm Winforms application suites with a bunch of themes. So you can have a good starting point, and then you can also customize those themes to your needs. And you can do that all inside of an app. So these 2 are full-featured WPF apps, but now where we ship it, we give you full .NET 5 support, and it has multi-targeting, so it will get the right NuGet package based on wherever you're running it on, .NET Framework, Core, or .NET 5. And we also use the latest like Prism 8 if folks are still using MVVM with Prism. That's all there for you to use as well. So take a look at any of these source codes. I mean, you can of course use the apps, but you can also look at the source codes to see how we are building apps. We like dogfooding stuff with our own UI. Now with WPF, there are lots of other things that we have done. Of course, the big things are the document processing benefits that we get, the word processing that Ed already showed you a demo, so I'm going to skip that. But think of it that the specific semantics to your documents, the fillable fields, the drop downs, the checkboxes, the text boxes, the images, everything that can now belong in a Word document can be preserved with full fidelity. Floating images, again, positioning images as per anchors in your document and controlling how the text kind of flows around it. We can maintain that. PDF viewer gets support for type 3 fonts, and this is again displaying, importing, exporting. We can handle type 3 fonts very well now. Now, the thing that the engineering teams spent a lot of time this time around is making sure we are good on accessibility, because this is one thing we don't want you to fail on. Because a lot of you work on government projects or have users where you need accessibility support, and again, it's not an optional thing. You have to support that. So we used a tool that Microsoft makes. It's called the Insights tool. It has like 60+ parameters. It looks through every piece of UI and tells you what is right and what is wrong. What else do you need to do? and we have cross-checked every T or dotted every I. We are good to go on every front with Microsoft Insight. So accessibility, if you're using Telerik UI for WPF, there's nothing that you need to worry about. It comes ready out of the box. Okay, Winforms. Let's switch gears to Winforms. This is something we did last release, and it's just something of a matter of pride for me and the team that we were first to do this, and it just took a tremendous amount of engineering effort, and it still absolutely rocks. So when WPF moved over to support or run on .NET Core and then now on .NET 5, they had to redo the whole designer, as you know. And we were working very closely with the Microsoft teams to make sure, like when you're doing Winforms development, like this is a big part of what we do, design type support, being able to drag and drop, being able to have those custom menus where we can set up properties. So all of that is ready for you, be it on .NET Framework or on .NET Core or 5. So the Winforms designer is this wonderful feature. We have a new toast notification manager, okay? I'll show you my Windows 10 machine in just a second, but again, notifications are big in Windows 10 as well as with Windows 8. It's not just the notification part of it, something popping up from the bottom right of your screen, or I mean, Windows 10 also has the Action Center, so you can see your notifications. But this is not just the viewing part of it, this is also acting on it, right? So there's a user input aspect of it. Maybe you snooze a notification, maybe you do a quick reply, but it's just view and act. So essentially what it comes down to is wrapping those Windows APIs, because these are Windows features and we are trying to use them within .NET. So we have to do all of the work, so you don't have to, right? And you also get some design time support. There are a gallery of predefined notification templates that you can use, that you can start off, and then you can make it your own. And you can do it design time with some drag and drop support. Again, so full control as a developer to exactly know how to create or manage those notifications. And think of this in terms of your apps. It's your way to keep your users informed and engaged. Have them take those quick actions from within your app itself without leaving it, and you get those notification pop-ups. So all of that is ready for you to use through the Toast Notification Manager. We have a new picture box, okay? This one here is kind of putting the system Windows Forms picture box kind of on steroids and giving it the features that it did not have. It will support every type of image out of the box, obviously PNGs, JPEGs. It's a full-featured image control that lets you edit. It lets you scroll, pan, and zoom. And for like raster images, you can edit. It will load up vector images just fine, so you have full fidelity. So it's a brand new picture box for anything that you're dealing with in your Winforms applications. Now we have a brand new theme as well. I mean, our themes are, it's a long list of themes, probably 24 or so themes. Now we have a new theme for the Office 2019. It's a light theme. It's created from scratch. It's inspired by, again, the latest Office 2019 light theme. Just a modern, clean look if you want to use it, and then you can obviously customize it to your taste. Okay. Loads of improvements all around the rest of Winforms as well. If you're doing a scheduler where you have an appointment, now you can check multiple people or resources in your meeting requests maybe. And again, PDF viewer, word processing, you get those benefits. You get the type 3 font support for display and import. You get the PDF viewer. Now this one is actually a slightly different story because Winforms and WPF started doing their PDF manipulation before we had document processing and PDF processing. We're now kind of combining those two, so you have a single engine that serves your purpose. And again, the same word processing, content controls, floating images, it's right there. If you're doing a tree view control, and if you have those checkboxes, when you export out to Excel, we can preserve the checkboxes. If you're doing spreadsheet processing, we can now work with older formats like XLS formats with Excel. I think it ended like 97 to like 2013-ish, so we can work with XLS. We have a way of you getting the latest builds. Now we are exposing out as a NuGet package. If you want to live on the bleeding edge like some of us do, you can get the latest builds. If you have a Telerik subscription, and you can just get the latest updates. We are also changing up how some of the properties and features of Winforms UI kind of show up within Visual Studio. Now we are combining it all inside of the VS extension, so you can control some aspects of how Winforms behaves from inside the Visual Studio extensions tooling itself. Okay, so a lot of stuff inside of Winforms. Now moving on to, let me see, I got 20 minutes. That should be enough to show you a few more demos, and then we'll talk about some more reporting and productivity. Let's talk about WinUI. Okay, UWP is here. Again, if you're building UWP apps, that's Universal Windows Platform, we have a suite that has probably 24 controls that are completely free for you to use. It's open source, so go ahead and build your UWP apps. But again, UWP apps are very much tied to Windows, right? And that's a problem that Microsoft realizes. So they're stepping it up one level up, so to have an end-to-end UI stack that's going to sit on top of Win32 and UWP. So this is your modern day UI stack for Windows, and that's WinUI. It's still in preview from Microsoft, so like we have taken our WinUI suite from experimental to preview, but again, Microsoft needs to call it done before we can bless this for ourselves and all of you as well. So Telerik WinUI, it's a brand new suite. Okay, like I said, it went from experimental to preview. We are ready. We are kind of locked and loaded, ready to go. Like I said, it builds on top of what the WinUI promise is, going to UWP and eventually to Win32. Again, uses Fluent Design. You can switch up the design system. But again, for this suite, we are building things from scratch, but we are building them very quickly because we have so much expertise doing things for WPF or WinForms. We are quickly up to more than like 15, 20 controls now. So give it a spin. If you are thinking about building Windows desktop applications, this is clearly the way forward. So take a look at it, give us feedback for the things that you are using it. So it already has the things that you love inside of the WinUI suite. So you have a grid. We in fact started with a grid, which is kind of the almighty grid that does everything. Charts and graphs. There is probably a dozen different types of charts and graphs in there. Again, full feature, does everything that you expect, and it's interactive. It has gauges. It has different types of ways in which you can render those gauges, and everything has virtualization. As folks were asking for the web, like virtualization is something we do take seriously, so it's there in most of our controls. Now, we did add a bunch of new things to this. The ribbon view, this is big, and it takes a tremendous amount of work to get it done right because the UX is so difficult, and this is something that folks always ask Microsoft, and it's never in the stack in WinUI. We have it for you. So this is the mighty ribbon view. It has exactly office type ribbons that you are so used to. Take a look at the architecture, kind of the breakdown of what a ribbon, like a full featured ribbon can be. And now you understand like why it takes so long to give you something full featured, and you have access to all of this. So you can choose to show as many or as less of this as you want, a ribbon in your WinUI applications. All right, we did add a bunch of other things. There's a new barcode, which supports like every type of barcode that you can think of. There's a new rating control. So a lot of love being poured into WinUI. You can see how quickly we are ramping up. There's a pagination control, which lets you bind through a big collection and then be able to page forward and back, and it does some of the things for you. Some of the binding things become very easy. There is busy indicator, which has about probably a dozen or so different types of animations, so you can switch between those. Again, I mean, everything is async in a way, but again, let the user know what you're doing. So let me go ahead and show you just a couple of quick things. And while I'm doing this, Ed, let me know if there's anything I can answer.
We've had a lot of product suggestions coming through, which is amazing, and we're adding those to our feedback portal. One of the things we had a question about was Blazor related, and there was a question about like how to handle layouts in Blazor. And I know you talked about the Blazor mobile bindings a little bit, so I'll give you a quick background on the web side of it. So we don't have any layout components per se that deal with like how many columns to show on a page. We rely on things like Bootstrap, Flexbox, and CSS grids for that type of stuff. And we focus on the UI portion, you know, the components, the data grids and things like that. On the mobile bindings, can you use like regular stack panels and whatever other, what are some of the layout functionalities of Xamarin?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, this is a whole other conversation by itself, because like Xamarin has pages and it has different types of ways in which you can put stuff in it. There are grids, there are stack layouts, there are container controls, and then all of the view that flows into it. And we support all of it by default. So if you're doing Blazor mobile bindings, you're literally standing on top of Xamarin Forms. So you have access to the entire layout engine within Xamarin.
Excellent.
All right, so I am on Windows. We got 15 minutes left and a bunch of things to cover, so let's go. How about we do this in a flip way? Let's talk about WinUI first, okay? Let's see if we put it up. No, that's actually UWP. Let's do WinUI, which, I mean, if you're doing UWP, that's great too. This one's the new one, and it's beautiful. So take a look at this UI. Again, you can install this if you just get a trial, and then it's just an app. So take a look at what's new. Barcode, like I said, this is the first look. So it's just a regular barcode. And what's good is you can actually take a look at the code right here, which is something we do for almost all of our desktop suites, because it's just so easy to just show you the code right here. So that code, the barcode, hang on if I can scroll down. I'm having it just like you, Ed. I'm getting old. I'm having a hard time like finding things, specific things that I want to show you. Where is it? Oh, right there is the rad barcode. Okay, so again, it has all of the features and it has that symbology, like what type of barcode is it, and all of that is kind of built in. So if I look at this one's customization, so again, all of these things light up once you look at it. But take a look at the different types of kind of barcodes and QR codes that we can support. Like as I change things, you can see how they alter. And it's just a wide variety of like 20 different types of barcodes that you can render. You can control how they are rendered and what their corresponding values are. So barcode, done deal if you're doing WinUI. We did a bullet graph last release, which is one of my favorite things. It has like so many things built into one. It's like one dashboard look. This is the busy indicator. And like I said, it's probably about 9 or 10 different types of animations that you can control. And all of that is controlled with a very simple like animation property. So every time you see us using, let's see, rad busy indicator, it has a little animation style. And that's all you need to do to set what type of animation that you want. Different types of charts and graphs. We won't go into that. It's just a lot, like over a dozen type of charts and graphs. This is the ribbon view. Again, first look, it looks pretty simple, but it has all of those features, so you can make it as complex as you want. And if I go back here, if you want to do an MVVM type binding, all of this can be powered through an MVVM. And you can use whatever MVVM framework that you want to bring in. So it's all there. Rating controls, again, just rating control, but it's freshly done for WinUI. You can actually control the precision, so you can control like how much of the star is actually colored. And you can change what exactly the rating control is. Pagination control, it's kind of what you expect it to be. You can bind it to a big collection, and it just works. All right, so that's WinUI. What I can do is, oh, and I didn't show you the change of themes, which I can do really quick. But let me show you just the project really quick before we move on to other things. I'm going to pull this up, and while it's coming up, yeah, I don't need to switch. While it's coming up. And let me go back here to the Winforms UI one more time. What's nice is if I go into settings here, just one tap of a button, now we have dark mode. Okay, so no matter what you're doing, desktop or mobile, you now have dark mode support. Okay, it's still taking the time to load up my app. So let's see if I should close or. Yeah, let's try one more time. I wanted to show you like the dependency that we have on WinUI. It really is just WinUI and then Telerik WinUI. So, and again, we will, okay, Visual Studio is giving me like a weird admin error. All right, go ahead, Visual Studio, do your thing.
Quick question while that spins. Sam, can you have a transparent background on a component in WinForms?
Oh. It depends on the component, I believe. I don't know. I don't know off the top. Yeah. Yeah, come and maybe join us on Twitch on Friday. We'll like to maybe play around and see if we can get some transparency going. So if you look at, this is the project that powers that same WinUI application that I showed you. That's Microsoft.NET Universal Windows Platform. You got Microsoft.WinUI and Telerik.WinUI, nothing else. Like it's running on Windows Universal Platform right now, but it will go to Win32 whenever Microsoft is ready. Right, so take a look at this. This is all XAML. Everything is user control, and everything is WinUI, and it's doing the latest thing. Let's go over and take a look at WPF real quick. This one here has that card view.
Sam,
yeah, sorry, Ed.
I think your display is lagging. We're not seeing.
Uh-oh. All right. Let's take a look.
I don't know if
What
it's
do you
just
see?
I'm seeing a frozen Visual Studio screen with the menu half open.
All right. How about I stop my sharing and then restart it again?
That may help. I think a thread or something might have got hung.
Yeah. What do you see now?
Now I see your desktop with Visual Studio on it.
Yeah, I see that end view. It looks like it's a little stuck on showing my windows. Okay. How about I come back to this and see if we have time to show some more Windows demos, okay? How about we move on? Yeah. I see it's catching up, but it's doing it slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe your GPU got pegged or something. While we've got a transition going here, question, can I develop Ajax web forms applications on a Mac? Only if you're dual booting into Windows, unfortunately. So the .NET framework that is used for WinForms or web forms, sorry, is 4.8, and 4.8 only runs on Windows.
All right, so we got 10 more minutes. If I have time, I'll come back. But what do you see now, Ed? You should be looking at my PowerPoint.
Unfortunately, I still see the Visual Studio screen. Let me make sure it's not my end here, but I'm trying different views, and it doesn't seem to be helping.
Could be you, because like I'm seeing the desktop that I'm sharing on mine.
Okay, I see it updated finally. I have UI for WPF now.
No, it's I'm over to like a reporting solution. Let me start and stop one more time.
Maybe one of the producers in the back channel can let us know if it's me or if it's all of us seeing Sam's screen delay.
All right, let me close down all the things that I can. So we are just looking at what we need to look at. All right, you're not seeing my PowerPoint yet because like I'm seeing it on the webinar control panel.
Apparently, yeah, your screen was frozen for everyone, Sam.
Okay. So let's see, you can still hear me. Can you take over real quick? Let me hang on a second. Let me stop this, and let me see if I can send you a link, and maybe you can pull it up.
Absolutely, we'll do that real quick. Yeah, sometimes these things happen when we're live. Let's see, I can see you panning through slides now, so.
No, I think you're
connecting work. It doesn't look like it's moving. It's still like a slideshow, I think.
Yeah.
All right. If I can get that link, I will pull it up over here, Sam.
Yeah. Give me just 1 second, and I'm going to send you in our Slack and see if we can pull that thing up. It's just a link to a PDF.
Okay.
That is weird that it froze.
Let's see, we are here. All right.
So pull up all the way up to like reporting solutions, because I'm seeing it on my webinar panel, but just not quite on the webinar view, which is weird. So let me stop, and then you go ahead and change. Yep. And hang on, let me stop my side of the view. So now we are looking at. Hang on, are we looking at your screen? Not yet. There you go. And go all the way down to reporting, and let's talk through that. Nope, you're too far down.
Too far?
Yep. Stop where it says reporting solutions, so we can talk through that. Further up. Further
up. There we go.
Hang on, let me look at your screen. Yeah, okay, I was looking at that interview. Okay, so okay. Yeah, Telerik Reporting, we got some good stuff cooking for you because the team has been busy. If you know what reporting does, again, it's the binding, it's the visualization, it's the delivery of reports. So with .NET 5, now we are able to say that we have full support for it. And this kind of shows up in a couple of places, right? So you have your report viewers for Wpfm and Winforms. Both of those projects types can have .NET 5 runtimes. And also what most of the people do when we are trying to build a reporting solution is have a RESTful service, right? And this is what powers your report generation and delivers that. So we have that RESTful service also supporting .NET 5. So check out the demos. If you just get the bits, then they all show up with different types of runtimes, .NET 5, .NET 3.1, and we also enable some of the core scenarios, which is very common. Like you don't normally put your report viewers and the report engine in the same project, so now we can enable that. In terms of the reporting engine, what you can do, we have some things we have done to kind of make your life easier in terms of how you control the flow and the rendering of the report. There's a background overlay, which is kind of a watermark that you can put all across your reports. There is a cross-section item, which kind of gives you a vertical line or a rectangle, so you know exactly where those report sections begin and end, and it's dynamic, so it knows exactly how you're doing it based on where your sections begin and end. And we have full support for SVG, so we will maintain the fidelity of your images in your PDF, however you do it. Okay, so that's just a couple of core updates to the reporting engine. So Telerik Reporting gets it, and Telerik Report Server gets it too. And Report Server is, again, the turnkey solution for management of your reports, so you get the benefits of both. So let's go on to the next one here. The Web Report Designer, this is something Ed deals with as well. We have report designers that work for desktop and within Visual Studio, and that's all great. But what if you want to give your users a way to design their own reports? And this is where the Web Report Designer comes in. It's a WYSIWYG thing. It's for the web, and it is coming up very quickly to be almost feature parity with the desktop. It's got all of the things that you can think of, pulls in data from a data source. So let's go next, Ed. And if you look at some of the enhancements we did, we are quickly, like I said, closing the gap between web and desktop. There's a new table context menu, so it lets you do some of the CRUD operations on a per cell basis on the underlying thing. And there's a new VS template now. So if you are building a project where you want to build a web report designer and expose that as a part of your solution to your users, there's a Visual Studio template, so you can start it out. And Ed, for the demo, let's pull up this thing that our engineering team built with Blazor and reporting, which I thought was very cool. Do you have a link, or I can send you the link again since we are looking at your desktop? Let me see if I can show you, because it should not be, I'm not running anything else now, so my...
All right, you want to try getting the control back again?
Yeah, I think...
let's try that.
If I'm looking at things here, let me pull up the site here.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, looks like it's good. So sorry about the technical glitches here, folks, but this is a quick little demo app here that shows you a Blazor grid and reporting kind of working hand in hand. And we have a GitHub repo to kind of show you as well. If you look at the pages that make up the Blazor application here, if I go look at Index Razor, and if I can bump up my fonts here, what are we doing here, Ed? This is all Blazor, right? This is a Telerik grid.
Yep. So we have a tab strip that lets you toggle between a Telerik report view and the Telerik grid in Blazor. Yep. So there's your Telerik grid in Blazor, and these are data bound. Both the report and the grid are data bound together. So you're able to kind of share state between those two things, and pull reports based on that client state. So you can pass parameters into the reporting component and vice versa. So it's a very integrated experience. And if you look back at the code for a moment, Sam, and scroll down, inside of that tab strip there, that last item is a report viewer component. So there's not a bunch of code for that component itself. You just put it in there and point it towards your data source, and then you wire it up with a little bit of code to kind of share that state between those things. And that's the demo if you're looking for that integration between a view on the, in the Blazor world and something from reporting to talk to each other, that this is the place to go check it out. And there's going to be an article, I believe, posted on blogs.telerik.com that details how this all works.
Yep. All right, so we are almost at time, but if you want to hang out for maybe just 2 more minutes, because there are things I want to mention about reporting, and hopefully my screen share holds up.
You're good.
So we're still good. We talked about web report designers. Let's quickly talk about productivity, because again, this is important for us developers. Real quick word here, Telerik Fiddler. A lot of you use it and love it. You know about Fiddler Everywhere, which is kind of the redesigned Fiddler that works on Mac and Linux. And we are actually kind of in the middle of reworking this, because Fiddler has kind of branched out into a family of products, big family, because there is a Fiddler Classic, there is Fiddler Core and Fiddler Cap. So hold on tight a little bit. We are trying to come up with some guidance as to what features and what audiences can use Fiddler the best. So none of that what you love is going away. We are just doing more to give you more Fiddler love out of the box. So we have Just Mock, which is a beautiful mocking solution, really helps with your unit tests. It's a complete mocking solution. We wrote an ebook, so if you are kind of new to unit testing in .NET, take a look at that. And it's full featured. And the big news here is full support for .NET 5, right? Since November, we have kind of ramped up quickly to make sure everything works with full .NET 5 runtime. And you're going to love this, add C# 8 and C# 9 support, right? So everything you can do from a language feature, you got now support in JustMock to do unit testing and mocking solutions. In terms of updates, there's a debug window, which was very nice. It's floating, and you can enable and disable that from VS Extension. We have kind of made that official. It's just an upgraded user experience. And performance optimizations, when we do things with how your methods are executed, there's a profiler running that does instrumentation, right? And that comes at a cost, because it's performance cost. And we have now given you a JSON way of configuring what to instrument and what not. So you have a choice. Maybe you don't need it on every one of your methods. So now you have a performance optimization kind of built in. And testing, Ed already showed you a demo, but take a look at Test Studio, take a look at Test Studio Dev Edition. These are things for you to have those automated testing capabilities built in. It's not just for web, it's for mobile and desktop as well. So we want to kind of help you end-to-end shipping your applications. So I think we are completely out of time here, Ed. You and me can hang around for as long as folks need, but we want to be respectful of your time. Come and ask us questions on Twitter. Let me see, I do have our handles right here one more time. So that's @Shargun and SAMIDIP. Ask us questions, and leave a breadcrumb with the hashtag #HeyTelerik, so we and our engineers and PMs can get back to you. So again, our goal was to not skip a beat with the pandemic and everything that's going on, to just keep on delivering software and the products that you expect from the Progress Telerik line. Like I said, come and join us on Twitch anytime you want. This Friday is going to be big because we are planning a whole day of coding. We love you for all that you do. We love you for using our stuff and being vocal members in the community. So keep being productive, keep using our stuff, and hope for a wonderful new year and a good, prosperous time for everyone.
Sounds like a good plan, Sam. We'll see you guys on Twitch this Friday, and you can ask more questions, and we can hopefully do some live interactive demos with some of those questions as well.
Absolutely. So we want to be respectful of your time, folks. Keep asking those questions on social media, and we will answer them. But otherwise, come and join the Kendo UI webinar, which is coming up on Thursday this week, and then on Friday we do a full day of live coding on Twitch. Okay, so from Ed and me, that's it from R1, from all of us here at Progress Telerik. Hope you enjoy all of the love that we put in our R1 release, and hope it makes you more productive. So go build amazing apps. Okay, that's it from us, and thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.